Today on 10-Minute IT Jams, we're joined by Ori Reshef, who is the VP of Products at Varada. Varada specializes in data indenting solutions, and Ori joins us today to discuss the company's role in working with businesses and enterprises across the globe. Thanks for coming along, Ori, and welcome to the Jam.
Thank you very much, Mitchell. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thanks. So, start off, for a business that hasn't worked with Varada before, what are your key products and offerings?
Perfect. Thank you for this. So Varada is an autonomous and smart acceleration layer for big data and specifically data lake analytics. What does it mean? We worked with data-driven organizations that have at least terabytes of data stored, operational data stored in their data lake, and they need to do two major business activities with them. One is the internal analytics, and the second one is the external analytics. So internal analytics, everything that is, business analytics, the analysts from every domain of the organization and the data scientists, all this is to create internal knowledge for better decision-making, analysis, and to improve the company as a whole. And the external analytics is the part where you actually make money out of your data. These are the products. Every UI actually that we see is based on some data that is being analyzed by a SQL query, hitting tables, and then bringing the results. And that's, in a lot of cases, what customers will pay for this organization. So we have two business needs. And what we came to solve is a problem that is just growing, and you talked about it a lot in your IT Jam, which is the growth of data in two dimensions. So these organizations that need to do internal analytics and external analytics, their data grew in two dimensions: width, so number of rows. If until a couple of years ago, organizations work with hundreds at the top, right? Hundreds of millions of rows of one table. Now they're working with hundreds of billions of rows. We've also worked with companies that have tables of 1.6 and 1.8 trillion rows. That's a lot. And you need to scan them and imagine the compute and imagine now the cost and the data engineering and the pipeline, et cetera, et cetera. The TCO becomes just irrational. And you need to find some kind of a solution. And so that's one direction of growth. The second direction of growth is in dimensions. Data becomes more sophisticated. Data science team will add more dimensions, more columns. So I know now where my end consumer lives. So I have the longitude, the latitude, and I have the last visits, URLs, etc. So my tables not only grew in depth, but also in width. So now I still need to do my internal and external analytics, but now not over of a couple of millions or hundreds of millions of rows, as we said, billions and billions of rows. The TCO becomes crazy. The cost of CPU, the cost of compute becomes really, really expensive and makes the features, the outbound features, not worthwhile. There is no ROI for them. So our solution, we actually invented, we were crazy enough or smart enough, whatever you choose, to do big data indexing. We invented a way to do autonomous and smart indexing. Inside the customer VPC, we are very strict on security and not moving the data. So our solution is actually deployed inside our customer's VPC. And what we do, we understand the queries, the SQL query, because at the end of the day, every very sophisticated business question will be translated into a SQL query, into a SQL script. Everything, which is crazy. It's a language that has been around for 30, 40 years and still here and still doing exactly this, analytics on top of relational tables and the internal and the external analytics. So what we do, we understand the SQL, we understand the needs of the SQL. We'll see it in a couple of minutes. Understand what will benefit from indexing. We index it in a very, very special and fast way. We can go into the details in a couple of minutes. And we build an acceleration strategy of indexing and caching, and we manage all of this to a certain budget. That way, we enable a query response time which is reasonable in terms of speed, performance, at a very reasonable cost, because indexing will reduce the cost of compute, then the entire cost of the solution. And your end customers will be satisfied because they got their answers in a reasonable time. So all in all, we help organizations do actual analytics on their data lakes, on big data, in a reasonable cost, balancing between cost and performance in a very smart way.
Awesome. And what are the main benefits of an enterprise using Varada sees to its analytics operations? And did you want to kind of show us a bit about how that kind of goes down?
Sure. You know what? Let's get crazy. Let's do a live demo of the system, if it's okay with you.
Sure.
So let's take, you ask what is the benefit? So first of all, let's have a quick look before we dive into the actual query. Varada will tell the organization who are their top consumers of CPU, who are the consumers that are costing most money to the organization. These are the ones that are actually using resources of CPU, either users or tables, or mainly that, and what is their impact to the business. So maybe somebody who is negligible in terms of bottom line is occupying my system and draining all the CPU. I need to know that, and I need to manage that. On the other hand, those, and to your question, what is the benefit? If you have now an end customer that is paying you for your UI solution that brings metrics, let's say that you're doing some geolocation or whatever, now with Varada, you can actually extend the duration, give analytics instead of 7 days on 30 days, or give a solution at all when the data is actually big, and of course reduce and make the entire thing with an ROI that is reasonable. Let me show you what I actually mean by that. So let's go and look for this query. Let's say that I'm a company like Uber and I'm driving taxis, and I want to know, I want to compensate my top drivers. They are my money makers, and I want to actually find them, see how much money they're making, how much trips they're making, and do something with them. So that's my business goal. Now, I did a count of the table of trips. So this is every ride share. So, you know, the electrical scoots, the Uber, everything, the data will be similar. It's very similar to IoT because you have machines transmitting data to a place. This is the size of the table that we're gonna work on. So it's 27 billion rows, 27.6 billion rows. And to your question, what will the business do? If they don't have Varada, they need to model it, they need to copy it, they need to pay a lot of money on their infrastructure to make this query actually happen. And this is something that they will use on an hourly basis, right? So now they need to find a better way to do it. So what I did here, I took this query, and now I'm going to bypass Varada. I'm going to go Varada through Hive, which is I'm telling this system not to go through the Varada solution, and let's see how much time it takes them to take the cohort analysis to find this cohort of top drivers on these specific dates. So we're going to run this query, and now let me explain what Varada will do while this query is running. So Varada will automatically analyze the actual needs in compute of this specific query. For example, Varada will see that the query is hitting driver ID, and driver ID is being used in the group by and in the select. And here the driver ID column is used in the workload. So Varada will take an automatic decision to both index, because where the driver ID is in the workload, it's a filter. Filter, by definition, will benefit from indexing. So Varada understands that and will go directly to the driver ID in our own special way with the SSD nanoblock and our own patents. We optimize the indexing for driver ID. Then Varada will see that there is the date column, and there is the date column here and the hour, right? So hour, for example, there is no need for indexing. So Varada will take the decision because they only it's in the select clause. So Varada will need the data. Varada will decide on the data. And now the query is back. This query, so I bypassed Varada. All the things that I just said didn't happen because I bypassed Varada. And now I'm gonna take the Hive off and see what Varada is doing. I want you to pay attention to two things. I don't know if you can see well my text and everything. If you want me, I can. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the time, the elapsed time. This is the experience, the user experience, right? If I'm now on a dashboard of my BI or whatever you are, I've been waiting for 75 seconds, which is unacceptable. Why did I do that? Because the query scanned 9.3 billion rows. So that's the physical problem. Now let's see what Varada will do with that. So I'm going to take off the Hive from the table name, and I'm going to say that we're going to go to Varada. Now, it's important to understand that Varada is not a cache. We're a smart indexing solution that can also leverage the cache. I can change anything, and it's not static. It's always understanding and learning the question. So let's run it again and see what happens. And that's done. That was, instead of 75 seconds, it was 6.2 seconds, reasonable time for the user. If you, to your question before, and what will our organization gain from this? First of all, actually, customer satisfaction. Because when a customer clicks on a button and will wait for 75 seconds, he will not be happy, especially if they're, they're all business users. They need to do their job, and I'm retaining them from doing so. And with Varada, they do that. But for your technical crowd, what's exciting, and for me always exciting as product to see that, is the number of rows that were scanned. If you remember earlier on, we were at 9.6 billion, and here we're at 2.3 million. This is 3 orders of magnitude less. This is where I can save, or Varada can automatically save for the organization millions of dollars. Imagine now everything in concurrency. Imagine that you have a much larger volume and you save actual CPU while doing that. And as I said, Varada does all of this automatically. So you can actually, and that's the other benefits that we're giving. We're reducing load from data engineering and DevOps. I'll explain both. Data engineering, to achieve these kind of results, will need to work hard, model, build pipeline, build copies, sort, partition in several different strategy in order to achieve this kind of performance. We do it automatically. Everything you see here is what Varada understood. So Varada will tell you, okay, how much SSD storage did we use? How much of it was used for index? How much of data? And every column will get a specific decision according to the needs of the query. So if I have like hundreds of queries and all of them are using our filtering on 3 columns, all those 3 columns will be indexed, and all the hundreds will be using this benefit. Just to say also that the fact that we're automatically indexing makes partitioning almost obsolete. It's good for us to have the partition on the basic partitioning on the data lake side when we're reading it, but when you're hitting Varada, everything is indexed. You can actually stop worrying about the data engineering can stop worrying about the partitioning, because everything they need will be indexed automatically without them actually intervening. That's in a nutshell what we do.
What a fantastic solution, and I'm sure businesses will really appreciate that. And just to kind of finish off, if someone wanted to get in touch with you guys, how would be the best way?
So happy, the team here will be happy to answer any questions. You can go to varada.io, our website, join our Slack channel. We actually have 2 free products, actually 3. One is we are great believers in open source, so we contribute a lot to the community. We have our Trino Presto analyzer because we are wrapped in Trino and Trino technology. So we created an open source project called Analyzer. Go to GitHub and see that. We give our version of a connector. So if you're a Trino or Presto user, go to our website and just download a connector to your Trino and start using it for free for life, up to 4 nodes. So go to our website, varada.io, and download it. This UI that you see is the Varada Control Center, which we're going to launch next week. And we are also going to give this away. We're going to unite the analyzer so you can use this as your kind of Trino Presto monitoring. And whenever you like, as I said, we're taking the load off also from DevOps. You can easily spin Varada from this UI. So come to our website, join our Slack, ask as many questions as you can. We'll be more than happy to answer.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us today, Ori, and we're looking forward to hearing more from Varada in the future.
Thank you very much for having me, Mitchell. It was a pleasure.